Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide.
Welcome back, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
We hope that you had a lovely winter break.
Yes.
And a good start to 2025.
It seems so strange to say that.
I know, but time, it flies. Yeah. So welcome back. And we particularly want to welcome people from certain locations who are among our listeners.
Yes. I'm excited because we are shouting out today, Tokyo, Japan. Hello. And we are also shouting out Alpharetta, Georgia.
Thank you for listening. Please bring your friends and family to the podcast so that we can continue doing what we love to do. Today, what we're going to talk about is something we love to talk about, which is play. But we're going to talk about it in a way perhaps different than what we have talked about before because of information that's come out about the predictive nature of play. Mm-hmm. I think some of it we may have guessed. Like, for example, if a young child is consistently pretending to be a veterinarian, people say, well, maybe he'll grow up to be a vet. And maybe they won't. But I think that there are some ways where we try to make play predictive.
Correct. But just because he's playing vet doesn't mean he's going to become a vet.
Right.
Maybe animals will be something that brings him joy when he's older.
Right. I mean, it's not, I think we try to insert predictions where maybe there aren't ones, but then there are other predictions that play can give us that we don't think about.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to talk about today. So a child who is pretending to play school, well, they're just experimenting with what they see in their world, and they're super interested in the power of being a teacher. Doesn't mean they're going to necessarily grow up and be teachers, though I will tell you that in one of the classes that I teach, one of the opening kind of introductory discussions is to describe, because it's a class about play, describe how you used to play as a child. And a lot of my students say I used to play school, but I think playing school is a very common thing.
I used to play school.
Me too. But I think it's a very, very common thing to play school.
Well, because that's a big part of your life when you're a child, right? So like you go to school every day and it's what you see. So you're going to play what you see.
Correct. So it's not necessarily very predictive, but here's something that we learned about and I think is super interesting. Children who like to, was it Alison, correct me if I'm wrong, children who when they're young love to play outdoors.
Yes.
Tend to grow up to be people who like to do things like hike, enjoy outdoor activities like sports, take walks in nature
walks. Yeah.
So there seems to be a correlation between children who just loved spending endless hours in outdoor pursuits and the fact that they grow up to be people who you will see doing things like hiking.
Yes. But you know what I find interesting? I am a big hiker and love being outside. And now, and I say that because when I was a child, I did not enjoy being outside. But now I find if I'm really stressed out, if I need to think, I need to be in nature. I need to be around maybe water or in the woods, like somewhere just calming. That's calming for me. But when I was a kid, I didn't want to be outside. I think it was maybe the type of play that when I was a child was going on outside was not my thing.
I was going to say, I think one of two things, or maybe both. Yeah. Maybe you didn't like the type of play or the kids that were outside. Yeah. And now you have a dog who needs to go out and get exercise.
Yes. And
so it could have developed a love of it.
I think that's how I discovered it is I have a dog who is always outside and he loves outside. And through that, I was like, oh, this is calming me down too. And I don't think I would have known that if I didn't have the dog who forces me to go outside.
So it can be something you learn as you get older.
Yeah.
Or change as you get older. But there seems to be some correlation according to research and studies. Yeah. There are other ones, though. I think that one is the most obvious.
That's the most obvious one.
There are other ones, though, like pretend play, which I loved as a child. I mean, I loved my dolls and my Barbies. And oh my gosh, I could just live in that world. Children who throw themselves into pretend play over long periods of time tend to grow up to be people who are more creative and pursue creative, maybe careers, outlets, hobbies. And I know that's true for me. I know that I'm a creative thinker, and that creativity even applies to factual work in my life.
Yeah.
And I've always loved writing, and I do love doing things like going to the places where you can paint pottery. I'm not great at it. I think I'm not great at it because I don't have the most refined fine motor skills. I don't have really good handwriting unless I'm concentrating. I'm not very good at like painting, that sort of thing, but I enjoy it. It relaxes me. So it's still a sort of a creative pursuit.
Yeah. I am one of those people that like in my spare time, like if I'm just watching television, I usually have some sort of craft going on where I'm like crocheting, or I paint ornaments for people for the holidays, or like things like that, that I think because I was into the pretend play with my Barbies when I was a child, maybe that's where it comes into play now.
Why don't I know about your crocheting thing? Did I know about that?
I don't know if you knew about that. I try to sell things on Etsy. I make bracelets, but you know about the bracelets.
I know about that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know about the crochet.
I just recently learned how to crochet hats. So I've been trying to make hats for people for the holidays. So maybe you'll get a hat if you tell me.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been getting really good at that. And sometimes I just do it at night and I'm like, I have no intention of doing anything with it. I want my hands to be moving and I want my brain to be used in that way. Yeah. So like, I'm pretty good at that kind of stuff.
We're going to have to sit and do, my grandmother once tried to show me how to crochet, and I was very young. And so when your grandparents try to show you something like how to crochet, you're not all that interested.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to teach me now because I am that sort of creative person.
There's easier ways to make things now. Like they make looms that you can use that make it really simple. I just got a kit in my yesterday because it was Prime Day. I got a kit on how to make a unicorn, like a stuffed animal unicorn, because it's something my therapist told me. And I want to display the unicorn on my desk to remind myself of something.
Okay, so
yeah.
So we can see here, both of us loved dramatic play when we were young. Yeah. Both of us loved things like doll play, pretending to play school, all that pretend and imaginative stuff. Both of us are very interested in creative pursuits. And again, it's not true for everyone, but there seems to be a correlation.
Yes.
There was another category that they found a correlation to. People who, when they're children, tend to enjoy like tabletop toys. This is when you're sitting with a small group of other children doing things like manipulatives, Legos, puzzles, counting bears.
I would even say maybe for children who are a little bit older, board games.
Yeah.
Things like that,
Younger children do that too.
Yeah.
So people who like to sit at a table, basically, and do these things with a small group of people, they tend to grow up to like connecting with one other person.
Yes.
Like these are the people, and again, this is sort of me too, but these are the people who have their small group of good friends, and they may like to connect one-on-one the most.
Yes. I'm a little bit like that. I'm more of a loner, rather. Like I'm more like I will do everything alone and independent. But if I am going to do things with friends, it is not with a large group of people. You're not going to see me like at a party. You're not going to see me with 20 people. You're not going to see me even probably with 5 people. It's like me and my one friend, and we're going to go do something. And then tomorrow I'm going to go out with another friend, like that one person. Like that's, to me, it's the connection that I need, I think. Because when you have a larger group, I feel like there's, for me, less connection.
You know what it makes me wonder? If when we're working with children, and we have children who prefer to be sitting at a table, using those things, interacting with a small group of children, is that telling us this child tends to be more introverted? Because it really is introverted. It's introverted adults who kind of go, ugh, to the large party. Not because they're shy. They could meet people all day long, potentially, but because being in large groups wear them out.
Yes.
So a young child could intuitively know playing with the large group and running around this room with the large group is going to wear me out. So I'm going to go sit at this table where I find it to be more calm. And I'm going to just sit and build with something or mold with something or, measure something.
Because it's one of those activities when you choose the tabletop toy, say you're choosing manipulatives, that you can easily do that alone. another child comes over, you're like, okay, I'll interact with them for that one, for this one little thing. But if you're introverted and you're not going to choose like the dramatic play area, I don't think, because that's definitely most likely something that you're going to have to interact with 3 or 4 people.
I think I'm introverted and I liked dramatic play, but I think,
see, when I think of how I did when I played school, it was me and my brother. Like my brother would be the student and I would be the teacher. So still was one-on-one. Yeah.
I used to play school either alone,
yes,
with my sister, or with my sister and one of my cousins.
Yeah. So it was a small group.
It was a small group. So let's all think about those children who enjoy playing in small groups. Like I definitely was somebody who enjoyed, I think, just being in a smaller group, though I would do things like dramatic play because I enjoyed that sort of activity.
Yeah.
I was always more comfortable probably in dramatic play when there were fewer children over there.
Yes. I don't remember ever really choosing the dramatic play area when I was like in kindergarten because there was more people. I don't remember that. There
are basic things about our nature that we're born with. It's our temperament. And one of those things is how comfortable we are. Do you tend to go toward this or do you tend to go away from this? How comfortable are we in different situations? And there are just some of us who thrive in smaller groups. Yeah. And you can tell that that's probably going to be the case for children who tend to go to, like in an early childhood classroom, they tend to do things like go to the manipulatives area and do tabletop, right? Yes. Tabletop things rather than being trampled by the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I had one little girl in my class last year. She would always choose the science area. And I think it's because most likely she knew if I choose science, I'm going to start out there alone. And I think she needed that. And she was okay. And then eventually other children would join her and she was okay with that. But I think she needed that. But like, I need to be alone for a few minutes to get transitioned into this free choice play. And she always chose like whatever area had very few or nobody in first.
It's even true when I think about recently, I was in an infant room doing a credential observation. There were some children who loved being just sort of tummy time with everybody on the carpet. And there are other ones who didn't want any part of the crowd, but they were okay if the teachers put them somewhere else, away from the group.
Yeah.
So again, that's very predictive of what are your friendships and your interactions and your preferences going to be when you're older.
Yeah. And I think like when we're teaching in the classroom, I think there is this like want to be like, oh, come join everybody else. Like, and as an introverted person, that would freak me out when I was a child.
Yeah.
Just let me be. I'm not bothering anybody. Just let me be. And I think it goes all the way up through the older grades too. Like, let's do group projects, like even that. And you're like, come on, like you're forcing extrovertedness as the norm and it's not. So like pay attention to those children and let them kind of ease into the day if they need to ease in, or they need to do tabletops every day, let them do tabletops every day.
Because isn't it true that we want, if this is predictive of who children will be, isn't it true that we want children to be comfortable with who they are and to grow up knowing it's okay if you prefer a very close-knit small group of friends when you're an adult, or you prefer to be somebody who has like your best friend and that's really all you need, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think you're right. I think that society does not normalize that. But we can do it with young children. We can normalize it for the young children and know that this is probably who they are. It's who they are going to be for their whole lives. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain parts of us that don't change. And the way children play in preschool can tell us who you're probably going to be most comfortable being. Right. Now, will society tell you you can't be that? And so you try to be something else, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Right? You try to fit into the society box rather than be yourself.
Right.
But if we are people who say we treasure children, appreciating who they are and being themselves, then what we have to do is just know, oh, this is probably who this child is. When they grow up, they're probably going to prefer like something like hiking or creative pursuits or, playing adults, not so much playing maybe, but being with a smaller group. Although adults, you could go out and play. It would be good for you.
Yes.
And they're, adults might do things like, the going on a hike to an adult can be like playtime because it's so de-stressing.
Yeah.
Some people come to it as they're older. Some people are meant to do it their whole lives. And we can see that. as children are interacting with each other in our early childhood programs or interacting at home. What are they choosing to do? As you know, I think you can see even in sibling interactions, some of it. Don't we always we can predict as early educators who's going to grow up to be more of a leader?
Yeah.
Who's going to grow up to be not so much of a leader, but okay, following the crowd?
Yeah.
We can see that when they're really young.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think even with siblings, it's very different. My brother is not like me. I'm more introverted and he's very extroverted. So he still to this day has a very large group of friends and they're close, but it's a large group that I could never even manage that many people, I think, in my life, but that's fine. Like that's what floats his boat, I guess, but it's not what floats mine, and that's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. But I think when you're siblings, you get compared a lot. Like, how come you just can't have as many friends as your brother has? Or like, why are you so different? And because I think introvertedness is just not considered the norm.
This tells us, I think.
Yeah.
Those children who love to be in dramatic play, don't force them out of there. That's who they are. They're creative types. They'll probably grow up to be creative. Those children who are sitting at the table with the tabletop toys, don't force them out of there. Let them be. They're going to prefer that sort of small group as adults.
Right.
The children who love to be outside and don't want to come indoors, even though you have to bring them indoors because they can't be unsupervised. Right. We understand that these are the children who are probably going to grow up to treasure being in nature.
Right.
Right. So we should, when we do have them outdoors, kind of tag onto that and see what are they enjoying out here and what can we intrigue them with. Because nature is their thing.
Yeah.
I hope that you will observe the children you are with and think about what inborn, innate part of your personality are you showing me through this type of play, which I think is so much deeper than the surface. Oh, you're pretending to be a vet. You should grow up and be a vet. That's very surface.
It's very surface. Yeah.
Who are you inside is the question as we observe young children.
Right.
Okay, our preschool peeps. Go ponder that, watch some children, see what you notice, and we will catch you next time on the podcast.
Bye, peeps.